first of all, I want to make it very clear, although I have been in IT for a long time, I'm only 19. So let's be clear about that. This gray hair, I've dyed it in. In fact, it's a wig. This is not real. And I want to say something about this. Aren't Drew and I the odd couple? We're the new Oscar and Felix. And my age might be showing, but again, I'm only 19. Drew and I have a podcast. It's called Imminent Teachnology. I want you to Google it and go to YouTube or where you get your podcast from and listen to it. We talk about the intersection of technology and our consumers and how you may be harmed by technology. So go find our YouTube channel, listen to it. Imminent Teachnology. Teachnology. Teach. There's an A between technology in there somewhere. I don't know how to spell either. And I want to say a little bit about Drew, if I can, before we get started on this podcast. So Drew and I worked together at Duke for a good little while. And anytime I had a problem I couldn't solve, I would always go find Drew. Drew is a problem solver. He introduced us to Go. We didn't know, in the law school, we didn't use things like Go. We worked on things that were specific to law. Drew would come over and introduce us to new things and all these things. So Drew is a wizard. Any of you have a problem you can't solve, send a ticket, ServiceNow ticket to Drew, he'll fix it for you. All of you use ServiceNow, though, okay, good. You send a ticket, he's got it, you know. He codes and creates problems. He finds code in ServiceNow that's wrong, and Facebook that's wrong, and fixes those things. So Drew is brilliant. So we're going to talk about the necessity of belonging. And DEI, for as long as I can remember, DEI was going along, and recently we stuck a... Okay, I'm sorry. DEI had been going along for a while, and all of a sudden we stuck a B on the end of it. I couldn't figure out how to make a word out of that, so DEI, we're famous for acronyms. But if you think about that practically, the B should have been in the front. We need to belong before we can be diverse, included, or equitable. We need to belong. If you think about it in the workplace, you hire a new person, you have a meeting, and you bring them in. Just look at their faces. They often feel closed in, closed bodies. They sit to the edge, you know. If you don't make your employee feel that they belong, you have a problem at the very beginning. So diversity needs to start off with belonging. So our podcast is going to talk about the necessity of belonging. So Drew?
Yes. So thank you so much, Rochelle. And also just want to say how awesome Rochelle is. So thank you so much. All those kind words, but I really feel like I'm the one learning through this whole process. So I really appreciate everything that you've done, and especially including me in this presentation, which, there's a lot of people here. So it's sort of nerve-wracking, but I'm also very excited. So thank you.
Absolutely great. One of the smartest people I know.
I tell my mom that every day, and she agrees. So most of the time she agrees. She doesn't always agree. So what is belonging? Like, Rochelle, when you and I started this podcast, I didn't even really know the difference between diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Like, all of that was just sort of the thing that just sort of melded together for me. It's like, this is something that we have to do, and it's something that traditionally the tech world has been not so great at. So figured it was time to use ChatGPT to explain what belonging is. I think it did an okay job, so hooray, ChatGPT. But it's an essential component because everyone belongs, but you also have to feel like you belong. And we all have to make environments that foster that belonging and make people understand that, like, yes, you do belong here. Why is it important? Well, belonging reduces stress. Who here likes to be stressed? Nobody? One day somebody's going to raise their hand and it's going to be like, yes, we finally found that person that likes stress. Beyond that, increases productivity, right? Like, if you're less stressed, you're going to be more productive. The big one, I think, one of the big ones is reducing employee turnover. Like, if people don't feel like they belong, they're going to leave. And you're going to have to replace that person, and that's going to be not a fun process. Rochelle, one of the things that I really tuned into when we started doing this podcast was we would talk to people, and a lot of people would say, whether they're going to a college or to a new job, is that yes, like, they got their foot in the door, but it feels like they're not wanted, right? Like, that you get somewhere, and if there's no community for you, or if there's no other people that are like you there, a lot of times you think that you're not wanted there. And so people leave. And I was sort of surprised, like when I first thought about that, or when we first heard people talking about it, I was like, oh, that's sort of like, you know, this sort of like sad thing where people, you know, get upset and they don't belong and they leave. And it's not always like that. I mean, a lot of times people are like, hey, I don't feel like I belong here, so I'm just leaving, right? I don't want to be somewhere where I don't belong. And I think that's a total, a very appropriate feeling to have. Is if you don't feel welcome, then you're not going to stay.
I want to interject something there. At Duke is a very elite university. Most of our students are really, you know, they're not just at the end of the road. I did a food insecurity survey in 2017. I did about 6,500 students. And one of the students who won the survey, I offered an Amazon gift card to all the students who participated in the survey. And one of the students who won the gift card said to me, I have imposter syndrome. You all know what imposter syndrome is. And I was surprised, you know, here's this child who would come to the school, she had like a 4.19 GPA. I want to know, when I graduated from high school, I had a 0.19 GPA. So I was like, what? 4.19, and you don't feel like you belong? But when you think about that, 4.19, you're around students who have the same point GPA and you don't feel like you belong. So if you can process that in a way to think about you're this smart and you don't feel like you belong. So here you are, you're a hiring manager or a director, you have these smart people in your employment and they don't feel like they belong. So when you're in that process, you need to think about ways, not just you're hiring the smartest person and you're not creating an opportunity. But when you create your team, you need to think about how do you create processes for people to belong. And the first thing is thinking about being more social and more open, right? So creating team meetings is just not about the agenda of what you have. So mirror project, we've got to get this done by this date. We've got this many resources and we've got this much we've got to do. Not just about the work, but about the people. How do you feel like you belong as the hiring manager or the project manager? How do your team leaders feel like they belong? How do your workers feel like they belong? And it's not about an escape room. It's not about these, famed environments that you create, but really making people feel like they belong. I remember one of the games I created with my team. Do you remember the game Apples with Apples and Connect Four? We used to play that every time we started a meeting. It was hilarious because it created this activity of competitiveness and friendliness among the team. Thank you. It created an activity of friendliness among the team. They had so much fun. It's a simple little game. It's a kid's game. But think about ways you can make your team feel like they belong. And one of the things how Drew and I became the odd company is because he would come to law school with these things. We didn't need to know about Go. We weren't going to do that. But it was simple. Something simple is what he did. It created an environment where the team felt like they belonged because he was this guy bringing something to us that we weren't going to use, but it made us feel like we had this opportunity to learn something that may be valuable. They could put it in their toolbox to learn about Go. What was the other thing you brought to us? It was
it Kubernetes?
That was the other thing he brought to us. Our team wasn't going to use this, but it was an opportunity. And then we had all these activities. And one of the other things I'll say, I'm going to shut up after this, reaching across the aisle. Your team is these people. You have 17 of these people. Reach across the aisle to somebody over there, the payroll department, the Linux group, the Tableau group. Reach across the aisle and bring these people in your team just to have a talk. Or if you need something you need to have done, bring this
No, absolutely, Rochelle. And that's sort of, like, why do we work? Probably for money, right? Like most of us are there to make money, but we're spending a lot of time at work and we just need to make the best of that time with like the people we work with, right? And making sure everyone feels like they belong and that they do belong is a big part of that. Because I mean, we're spending our lives doing this work. We might as well make it enjoyable. Oh yeah, here come the cringy pictures, so be ready. Yeah, you don't want to worry about getting fired every day, right? That's a huge piece of stress, of course. We had AI generate this tug of war thing. I always like that picture because it looks like that dude's hand is like turning into a piece of rope, which I don't know. I feel like that's pretty accurate when it comes to playing tug of war. But having different people playing, tugging at this rope really helps things out. Keeping people, these are my our musical chairs. You don't want to be that person that's doing musical chairs and is left without a chair. I know, like, at least for me, when I was a kid, musical chairs was super stressful, right? Like, when that music turns off and everybody's like diving into the chairs and it's going everywhere, like, awful. And then you end up being the person without the chair and you have to sit out for the rest of the game. That's awful. Nobody wants to sit out for the rest of the game. Do we have any Twin Peaks fans in the house? All right, hooray. More hands than I was expecting, but super glad to hear it. This is another thing that I learned from Rochelle, is talking about reaching across the aisle and also making sure, Rochelle, you talk about this analogy the best, but forests are full of multiple types of trees. The outside is full of multiple types of trees. You don't want to live in an earth that only has pine trees or only has oak trees. Like, all the trees working together in their natural diversity is what makes things best. And it's the same with people. And also shout out Log Lady from Twin Peaks. So do you feel like you belong, right? Like, are you welcomed by your team? Does your team listen to you? How hard does imposter syndrome hit? Like, is there anybody in here that has never had imposter syndrome? Like, I don't think anybody has. I think everybody that works has imposter syndrome at some point. And it hits hard, and you got to, you have to, I don't want to say embrace it, but you got to sort of work through it and know that I think everybody gets imposter syndrome. I mean, I get it probably. I'm probably having some right now, standing up in front of everybody, thinking, why are people listening to me? But here we are. Do you belong? We probably already went over the answer, but absolutely, everybody belongs. And everybody should feel like they do belong. So how do we help other people feel like they belong, right? Like, it's not on each person to make themselves feel as if they belong. There are things that we can all do to help people feel like they belong. A big one, look around in your meetings. How many meetings are you in that have 0 women or 0 non-white people? Like, that number, those meetings are like very frequent. Like, it's very unfortunate. And when you see those meetings happening, change it. Invite new people to the meetings. We've gone through this process like several times, and once you realize it's happening, it's easy to fix, but you have to be aware that it's happening and then sort of put your neck out there and invite more people in. Another big one, how do you react when someone comes and asks for help? I know everybody in tech is like very busy, and whenever we get a request in that says, hey, can you help me do this thing? It's very easy to say, no, I don't have time for that, right? Like, or no, I can't do that right now, or no. Well, you can only give so many no's before people stop asking you things.
I was going to shut up. I always lie about this. I can't be quiet. So the woman who just did the presentation before us is beautiful. I want to add something to that. I lied. I'm not 19. I'm actually 39. In addition to women, we need to care about people that are older too. So I'm 39. How many people do you think are going to hire me if I wanted a job? So I retired. I'm looking for a job. I've been in IT for a long time. Do you think anybody would hire me? I'm very good at what I do. I am an exceptional manager, extremely organized. Do you think anybody would hire me? When I left Duke, and I mean no disparity to Duke, I had 17 employees. 2 of them were Black. All the rest were white men. They did everything they could to make me feel like I was incapable as a manager. If I would assign something, they wouldn't do it, or they would ask another white manager. How many of you know that experience? It's amazing, right? And how do you feel after that? You know, do I belong? I have, at that time, let me see, I left Duke in 2021. At that time, I had 44 years of experience, and I had done everything. I have not coded in what's all those wonderful things y'all talk about, Linux and C++ and all those things. I'm an assembler. I'm showing my age down. I'm 19. Fortran, COBOL. I'm sure your babies don't know what those things are. Shh. You don't want to disturb y'all. Y'all continue what y'all know. But those kinds of things. I had IBM mainframe. Shh. This is where my background. But management, that's my skill. Getting things done, connecting people. If you look at me on LinkedIn, I don't know how many thousands of people I have connected to. I have a group on Technology and Education. I have like 45,000 people in my group. I'm good at these things. How many people would hire me? How many people, white men in this room, all you all, if you declare yourself as white, would feel comfortable working for me? Thank you so much. Thank you. Drew, I know you would. But most would not. I do not belong. There's no place that I belong. And do you know how uncomfortable that makes me feel? I ask all of you in this room to hear my voice. Please consider the people that you hire and you work with. Please make them feel like they belong. If they are black, brown, white, green, purple, yellow, orange, and all the other colors, make them feel like they belong. Because what you're doing is causing them stress, making them work in places. How many of them do you know are sharpening up their resume every day looking for a job? Because you are not making them feel like they belong. It's not about pay. Yes, we all want more money. Yes, everybody wants more money, right? Raise your hand. We all want more money. Pay us more. Yes, but that's not what's keeping us in our job. It's how we feel. Make us feel we belong. If you do anything in the work that you do, whether you're a manager, a coworker, a team leader, project leader, make us feel we belong. That's what you can do to make work better. And I know I'm at my time. Make us feel we belong. That's what you can do. You don't do anything else in your job. When you go to work with your coworkers, your team leaders, you go to go to lunch with them. Ask them to go for a walk. I will tell you one thing. So I won't name the organization, but I'm a diversity consultant. I was asked to do work for a large company. They make computers. Don't make any assumptions. 5,000 people. They asked me to come in and do a consultant. No disrespect. The person brought in their lunch every week, and some of the other employees complaining that the food smelled disrupted their lunch. They couldn't eat it because they warmed up their food. The fragrance was too pungent for them. So they asked me to come in and help work. So what they expected me to do was to come in and talk about the food. What I did is I talked about music. So I brought in 4 or 5 people that had the pungent food and people who did not have pungent food. So what we did, everybody got in, we sat around the table, and I don't know how many of you all made music with aficionados or not. I played 4 songs. First song, Billy Idol, White Wedding, loud. Everybody's cringing. Next song I played, you might not know this song. I don't mean disrespectful to anybody. F the police. Second song. Third song. No disrespect to nobody. I don't hurt nobody's feelings here. Let's say this without getting myself in too much trouble. And the fourth song was Fly Me to the Moon. So you can tell I irritated everybody in the room. Nobody was happy. Everybody in the room was irritated, right? So when I finally got finished playing music, everybody complained. Nobody was happy. So when I was finished, everybody said, well, why did you do that? I said, you can make no one happy. The person's food, you can choose to go out of the room. You can choose to, eat your food at your office or your desk. There's no way to make anybody happy. What I suggest you do, and this is what we did the second meeting, is you taste that person's food. And you let them taste your food. Believe it or not, they all ate the same food. I'm done. Thank you. They love the food. Do not judge. Try to make people feel like they belong. and the people only pay me half the fee. Thank you.
Thank you, Rochelle. And thank you, everybody.